jumping into this game. It's Altazim Stronghold Tournament Edition. In the top left-hand corner of the map, the blue Terran player, we just saw him play a wonderful game, but just quite didn't have enough. It is kauP. And in the bottom right-hand corner, the red Zerg player, showing some pretty exciting Ultralisk Commuta late game play and some great positioning in that last game for us on Frost. It is Dimaga.
Now we have got a very early SCV coming out here for kauP. And this may seem a bit crazy, because Outsrim is a massive map. But, if you go for a Proxy Reaper, and a barracks down here, it can work very nicely for you. Go on SCV, build it, do it. Thank you.
There it is.
So, actually in this position, you make a very big map. Actually one where going for a Proxy Reaper can be quite fun. And I am assuming a Proxy Reaper at this stage. We should be seeing the gas pretty soon. Proxy 2 racks. I don't think I've ever seen anyone proxy 2 racks on Outsrim.
You know, it can happen, but just, the supply is a big factor as well. So if you see the 8 supply barracks, it's Reapers usually. If it's 11, then it's going to be a 2 racks, most likely. But I wonder how he's going to know where to head. I mean, he has built the base about as close as he could to his opponent with while still remaining honest to the other bases. I think it is the closest base for him. For that Reaper, but he's going to have to get some additional scouting information with this SCV to try and figure out exactly where Dimaga is to really make this decision worthwhile for him.
The best he can do is basically make it into a coin flip, a 50-50 of which other base it could be. But he's going to get lucky, going to scout in towards the cross positions first, find his opponent. Dimaga, he's gone for a hatch first, which is a completely normal opening, regardless of whether we're on a map the size of Outsrim or a map as small as, say, Overgrowth or something. So Dimaga doesn't have anything to panic about, but this may catch him a little bit off guard.
Yeah, it certainly will, and the question is going to come down to, how well can Dimaga protect his drones without having anything that can really attack for him and put pressure on this Reaper. It's going to come down to pulling drones, it's going to come down to building extra extractors and building spore crawlers once the spawning pool is done, and all of that fun stuff that we love to see, and I'm sure Zerg players just enjoy immensely about the Terran versus Zerg matchup. But he didn't go for any super fast third base yet or anything like that, so he's in about as good of a position as he could have hoped for to defend this.
Oh, a bunker coming up.
Is going to get picked off, and yeah, the bunker could prove instrumental for kauP, and is the second drone going to fall here? It is. Can't make the extractor in time. So far, very nice control from the Terran player.
This is really frustrating. kauP does manage to trigger combat drugs on that Reaper, so it is regenerating up health very nicely. Drones unable to get that damage off quite yet, but the bunker is being ignored. It's going to complete. And once that bunker's up, the Reaper has a very nice time. His buddy coming on in there as well now. And with the safety of the bunker, these 2 Reapers can just have an absolute heyday.
Yeah, and they've killed 5 drones already here, killing Lings as well. This is just a pretty tough spot for Dimaga to be in. The Queen's out. It should deter the Reapers at least until they're healed, but they can continue to just pester here. A 3rd Reaper finished, even a 4th Reaper coming out here. The factory behind this, no expansion, just a factory coming down from kauP. So he has fully committed to aggression here off of 1 base on Altazim Stronghold.
And it's just caught Dimaga off guard because you don't expect it. On Outsrim, such a big map, you think, no, there's no way they're going to go for something too aggressive against me, at least that early on. Oh, 1 Reaper gets very low. Is it going to survive? Just managing to. That was skillful to the degree of lucky.
Yeah, a little bit. I guess that's about as well as you can say that. But 3 Queens out now should definitely push these Reapers back if they were not so brave to hop into that bunker. Is there enough for a transfuse? There is. It does get used here. And keep in mind, transfuses mean, no injects, no larvae spreading. More Lings come in. This bunker should end up falling here. A lot of Lings do fall. The Reapers are going to come out. 1 does go down. The rest of them, oh, the last one does get picked off at the last second. So 2 of them fall. 2 still alive here, but with speed finishing up now for Dimaga. He should finally be able to push this back, and, well, kauP just now getting his expansion down.
Yeah, kauP was very late with that expansion. Loses the last 2 Reapers in exchange for 1 drone. Overall, that killed 6 workers for kauP and caused a lot of brain ache for Dimaga, but it wasn't completely cost-free. Of course, this barracks isn't producing anything while it slowly but steadily floats back home, and now it's up to kauP to really justify that initial aggression, probably by following up with more. The starport on its way. We've got a fair number of Hellions, so some drop play probably going to be on the cards. But can it do enough?
You know, it's going to be difficult. Dimaga feels pretty comfortable here. He knows he knows how much damage was done. But he also knows how much kauP has sacrificed in order to do it. So he feels perfectly comfortable. He takes his third base. He drones up some more. He's pushing further and further ahead in that harvester count. But now we see kauP trying to play a little bit greedy on his own. Dimaga is going to see it though, as immediately that Overlord flies in time to see not only the Viking being built or something being built from the starport, the reactor on the factory, but also that third command center.
So Dimaga knowing about this now, he's already got his third coming down himself. He's adding in a couple of gases. He doesn't really have much in the way of gas as of yet. Lair only just now starting. It's been quite delayed due to that very aggressive opening from kauP, but everything's okay. He's actually in a very comfortable spot. His drone count is starting to climb now. But he needs to be aware of what his opponent's got planned. And seeing that third basically gives Dimaga a bit of security, knowing that, hey, if he's pumping out that third CC, he's not going to be pumping out much in order to come and kill me.
Yeah, and I think, again, Dimaga is right where he would want to be. He continues what seems to be his comfortable build. He gets the layer, the Roach Warren coming down as well. And, he's still on these 3 gases. He can go for some sort of big Roach speed push if he wants to, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just, well, now as I say that, he's on 43 drones, and he's building 4 Overlords at the same time. I don't think that was an accidental supply block here, Maddles.
No. That was most likely caused by that Overlord going down, but with 6 Overlords coming through, the Roach Warren and 3 gases, this could very well be a big Roach timing. It's certainly something that Zo players like doing. There we go, 7 Roaches coming through. That's more than you need just to defend against these Hellions. May get the speed upgrade coming through for those Roaches as well, so important to keep an eye on that.
And these Hellions come in, they do some damage here, and I wonder if he's delaying starting the speed until now he starts it. I think he wanted to delay it until the Roaches cleaned up the Hellions, or the Queens cleaned up the Hellions, but he didn't want to delay it too much. So now Roach speed is starting. There are Banshees coming out, however, and I hear those deflect Roach pushes pretty well. And it seems like he has, in fact, kind of abandoned that. He's getting some more drones out and getting the speed, so we probably will see Roach, but I think he read this well, assuming mech coming out from kauP, and that is what we're going to be seeing. So he's going for the Roaches and trying to find a good moment, I think, ultimately to get some Hydras out as well to help him flush out his composition.
So we've got the 4th base about to get taken out by Dimaga. He's got the double evolution chambers, but as you rightly said, Dimaga's been slightly thrown off what he may have wanted to be doing. That isn't a massive issue for him though, and actually kauP is going to be going mech here, adds in 2 additional factories. If I'm not mistaken, that is our first indicator that it's going to be a mech style play other than the Banshees coming through, but hey, this is now turning into a very fun and exciting game.
Yeah, I think that Dimaga read it a bit earlier, which is where the Roaches came from, and I think it simply was the fact that behind the Reaper expand, we saw a couple of Hellions come out, then the reactor on the factory, followed by the starport. If you wanted to go for some bio play, we probably would.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we got a Banshee getting a fair few kills up in the main base here for kauP. Already up to 7 workers picked off there with just 1 Banshee.
Not too shabby, and it escapes with its life as well, which is always nice for kauP here. Look at his money though. He's having some trouble spending all of it at the moment, focusing so much on keeping that Banshee alive, and well, the question will come, is it worth it? Now the Hydralisk then coming down with 1-1 halfway done here, and again, I have to say I do like Dimaga's position, although for kauP, with the way this map is laid out, it's quite easy for him to kind of turtle up on 3 bases with mech and push out with a very strong and formidable army composition.
What's important to note is that one of the reasons we see a lot of minerals over on kauP's side is because he was going mech, but at his natural base, he only had 1 SCV in each gas for a long time. Considering he's only on those 4 gases, going full on mech is so Vespian intensive. He's unable to spend and really use all those production cycles until now, really.
Yeah, and that's part of the urgency, I think, for him landing this third base right now and transferring all these SCVs over. He'll start, the gas is there, and again, as you mentioned, he desperately needs them. He's starting the additional command centers as well to help him not only, spend the money to build them, but also to move forward with his late game plan as well. Banshee's being really annoying, picking off creep tumors, the active creep tumors as well, going down is very annoying for Dimaga here. But his fourth base is pretty well established. There are no spore crawlers or anything. If these Banshees find it, they could make life pretty miserable here for the Zerg.
The remaining creep tumors all getting taken down, and actually this is completely stunting any creep spread really from Dimaga at all. He's respreading up towards the right hand side, but on a map as large as Outer Rim, creep spread takes forever anyway, so by delaying it, it gives a lot more security, especially with this mech based force, which is quite immobile on the whole.
And we've got 1-1 finishing up here for the Terran mech, 2-2 on the way here for Dimaga, and this Queen just barely able to survive its friends. The Hydralisks come over to push away those Banshees, and Dimaga is now the one who is going to have this upgrade advantage. He's now transitioning into Hydras, getting the most important unit for this composition to transition out of, or to deal with mech play. It's the Viper after Hive just finished up for him. So I think he's actually reading this really well, and I wonder if it's going to be the pulls or the blinding clouds that he's going to go for. It's going to have a lot to do with the tank count, which is only at 4 right now. But he's really putting himself in a good spot once 2-2 finishes to start to try to be aggressive against this composition from kauP.
Now, if we take a look at Dimaga, he's just got such a good economy. He's going up to 5 bases. He's up at 84 drones.
Yeah.
And with this great composition that you pointed out, with these Vipers, he's in a very strong spot because kauP already is in a awkward position, or not an awkward position, but a sub-ideal position, in that mech, he can't really do much with it until it gets to really being plus 150, 160 odd supply. But even then, if he moves across the map, Outer Rim and cross spawns is so big that Dimaga's got all the time in the world to max out his army and get into a very good defensive position if he does decide to move anytime soon.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And with Hive already done for him, 2-2's finishing up now. He can start 3-3 right away. There's going to be no delay, so that upgrade advantage can continue to just grow here. And oh wow, there's actually 5 Vipers now. They've all got full energy. This could be, if he finds that engagement, this could be really, really rough here for kauP.
The Hydra count for Dimaga is getting pretty damn high. There are 21 roaches on the field so far. I love the fact that kauP, though, isn't being completely passive. He's using the Banshees and Hellions to try and get some harassment through, but over on the right-hand side, not going to be too successful. A couple of roaches intercept and destroy.
And the 5th base has finished up here for the Ukrainian Zerg player. kauP, on the other hand, well, he's got plenty of orbitals finishing up. He hasn't landed a 4th at all at this point, and well, I would expect him to try and land just a regular command center and make it into a planetary just to feel safer. But right now, Dimaga is in, I would say, a much better position moving towards that late game, just because he's got this bank building up, he's got these extra bases, and yeah, the Hellions are being annoying around the map, but there's not so much to even kill at this base right now for this one Hellion.
Dimaga is looking to get aggressive now. He is maxed out. He's got 3-3 on the way, going for the double spires actually, so potential tech switches available to him. But this push out is going to be really annoying because while it may not break this position just due to the siege tanks, it can whittle down that army, and due to Dimaga's great bank behind this, could do a lot.
There are currently 7 siege tanks on the map, but quite a few of them down on the low ground are not sieged up. This could be a huge blunder here for kauP if he doesn't realize that the time is now. The Vipers come in, a couple of Thor shots go off on them. The siege tanks are pulled back. Are they going to be sieged up here? These Vipers need to do something. One of them gets picked off by the Vikings. This is, well, a position Dimaga isn't sure he wants to engage in. He's going to try and pick off this orbital command. It looks like the Hydras continue to try and focus it down. The Overseer is getting taken down by these Vikings. Huge air control advantage here for kauP, but that base does fall.
Behind this, kauP is going for some drop play. Double Hellbat drops coming through, but Spore Crawlers are going to be able to take it down with only 1 getting out. The Viper count, as you said, is really dropping. Only 2. 3 died already. The others very low on energy. kauP deflects for the moment, but loses a 4th command center in exchange for his life.
Yeah, and again, this economic advantage for Dimaga, he lost a lot of workers, dropping to 57, but no problem. He'll just make 17 more here. He'll Spine Crawler up, he'll Spore Crawler up, and he builds 7 more Vipers. So yes, the Viper count was low. These Vipers, however, I will go as far to say he probably cannot afford to really lose these and remake them again. He needs to keep these alive and protected here.
Waiting now to see exactly when this engagement comes, if Dimaga even wants to take it. Does manage to find a Thor out of position, but the Siege Tank's getting some great shots down. The Vipers go for an abduct, one Thor dies, but these Vikings up in the high ground, up in the skies, keeping those Vipers back. Couple of abducts on the Vikings, actually. Just trying to retake that air superiority.
Yeah, I mean, he understands the importance of keeping, the rest of his Vipers alive. He has a lot of them, and here's the big engagement. More Vipers getting abducted here. A Siege Tank comes along as well, and, well, the supply count's still in favor of Dimaga. He's still reinforcing with Hydras and Vipers pretty much exclusively here. He's got about a 15 supply advantage, but this is kind of what we talked about earlier in the game. How in the world is Dimaga supposed to engage into these choke points?
Unfortunately for Dimaga as well, is he can't engage into those chokes, but now his opponent has secured up that 4th base. And by grabbing up this 4th, it activates, obviously, these additional 2 gases, taking kauP to 8 gases, meaning that he's got the Vespian count to fund this ultra late game mech force, starting adding in the Ravens, starting adding in more and more mech very quickly. It makes it really hard to engage, but likewise, it's going to be exceptionally tough for kauP to move out and actually push into Dimaga, because once he's out of the safety of those chokes, suddenly that's when Dimaga can start looking for the good engagement angles.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Mattles, we could be here for quite a while longer here. So I hope you've got a comfortable chair there. But, because you said it really well. I think whichever player decides to engage is going to be the one that's at a slight disadvantage in the engagement. And we've seen Dimaga try it a few times, immediately pull back because he understands what he's up against and that he can't really engage into it. And so he just pulls back and sits back. He's got, as we talked about before, the opportunity for that big Muta transition if he wants to. He's even got 1-1 for his air, 2-2 started now, and even enduring Locust. So getting all of his upgrades, getting himself in a position where he can build whatever he needs to, and it'll be effective for him. Money scan going down, sees the entire army moving around here for Dimaga. And, well, we'll see if Dimaga does go for any transition.
Now, just as we saw last game with a very high Ultra count, getting a very high Viper count this game for Dimaga. Goes for some good abducts, so grabs pretty much all of the Vikings in one big pull. Couple of tanks coming in for the ride as well. Taking them out in nice bite-sized chunks, and these Vipers being used very, very well at the moment. Slowly working apart this army.
And the Seeker Missile is not going to be able to hit. The Vipers get out of range, and suddenly there's, well, quite a few Siege Tanks still, but Blinding Cloud's pretty good here if he sees the opening to use them. I don't think he realizes how many tanks are there, and Dimaga does end up backing out here, but, well, it's going to be a little while longer, I think, but these Hellbat drops still doing a lot of damage. 64 drones left for Dimaga, and been 65 killed here for kauP in this game, and back and forth we go. These guys love showing us some entertaining StarCraft.
Dimaga has got off better overall in terms of the trades though. He's lost about 2,500 less resources than kauP while being up substantially in his income. And just take a look at those banks. This is like Dimaga is, well, I can't even think of what Dimaga's doing with all this money right now, but he's happy sitting there with it because he can keep going for these trades, keep abducting out groups of tanks, groups of Thors, the Ravens, all these very expensive units on kauP's side, trading them for a couple of Hydralisks, and he's like, well, what do I care? I've got 2,000 gas in the bank, 5,000 minerals. I can throw Hydralisks at you all day.
Yeah, and I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Dimaga, in a little while, does go for some sort of major transition. If you look at the unit composition here for the Terran player kauP, there are no Thors on the map. The air control is in the form of 14 Vikings, so if he does go with 5 more on the way, just mass Vikings, it seems like kauP expecting some sort of like Broodlord transition or something along those lines, when in reality Dimaga's doing no such thing. Has he made too many Vikings here?
Well, there are a lot. Going to be able to really do a lot of damage up against these Vipers. One goes down, but the Abduct's great yet again. Grabbing a lot of the Vikings, taking them down quickly. I think Mutas are probably the best option open to Dimaga at the moment because... Oh, never mind that. We got a lot of Hellions in towards the third base. It's a barbecue.
All these drones going down below 40 drones he should be when it's all said and done is Dimaga. 41 at the moment as they head on into the main base. There's not much here for him to, well, to look at. Just a couple of drones mining gas and then the queens, of course. But kauP doing the damage that, well, he hoped for, certainly. This army for Dimaga looking for an extra base. There's that hidden base on the left-hand side for kauP. If he can find it, well, then again, he puts himself in a great spot. He's looking in the more kind of conventional location, it seems here. That's not where he needs to look if he's hoping to find it.
Bit of a gamble by kauP taking that base down to the hidden location. Does mean it's less likely to get scouted, but if it is, it's far more exposed. But I've got to touch on what kaup's doing with these drops, because it is devastation. 97 workers have been killed. That is just crazy, and more still going down. The Hellbats really paying for themselves nicely. May even end up getting a hatchery here.
Yeah, you see the power of 3-3 Hellbats there, just raining damage down on that hatchery, taking it down, and they're not even, they're not even drops. We're really starting to see the advantage of that upgrade coming out in the mid to late game here for kauP. He scoots them on over there as Hellions, transforms them into Hellbats surrounding the hatchery, and in like 5 or 6 shots, down it goes. And it's really, really nice for him. His bank is now comparable in the minerals side to Dimaga's, light on gas, but it's to be expected because he quite frankly just has less bases. There's still Hellbats in the main and the natural for Dimaga. They might even take down this natural hatchery. It looks like they're going to.
And this is frustrating. It denies the gases. That's the big hurt, which short term isn't a massive problem for Dimaga. He's at 4.5k minerals and gas. So it's not exactly like money's an issue for him. But it can quickly become it. We've all seen people or read about people who've won the lottery and then ended up broke after a couple of years. And that could be happening to Dimaga here, because if he goes for a big muta switch, for example, after this big engagement in the center, he's suddenly all out of money.
Yeah, and kauP doing something that you'll see a lot of Terran players do in the late game. Sacrifice the SCVs, get your army to be just that much scarier, that much bigger, that much stronger, because you've got orbital commands to help you mine, ultimately. And he's still got that hidden base where he's muling. He's built just enough SCVs to saturate the gases here, except for that one. He's short one, but he didn't actually transition any over there out of fear of them being seen. So really kind of nice decision making from kauP, a very conscious choice to not just mindlessly transfer drone or SCVs because that's what you do. He built them there himself.
So where do we go now in terms of Dimaga? Obviously he is now starting to hurt, and as I was mentioning about that gas count, it is still going up quite nicely. Looks like there's a little bit of in-game lag, unfortunately, so hopefully that'll get cleared up. It's not on my side, I know that much, but as we go now, this is very irritating overall for Dimaga, because he needs these expansions, but he can't really contend with being everywhere on Outer Rim. So, waiting to see where people go, but for the most part, Dimaga just having to defend everywhere at once, which is just really frustrating. The
Hydras have found the base.
This is really good. This is amazing right now for Dimaga.
It's exactly what he needed. There's another one in the top right-hand corner that, well, 11 mules casually just came down on, and I'm not sure, this is a reaction that a lot of Terran players have, where they just kind of mule the base for the sake of muling the base, but I don't think he needed it. He's got 6,000, 5,000 minerals here, and, does he need to mule is the question. Does he need those scans?
Well, he's going to have to keep the scans going, because he needs to know where Dimaga's army position is. It's pretty much essential there that he knows where Dimaga's moving, keeps a good track on it. But if we take a look at actually what work is being done by kauP, he's doing an amazing job of just picking away at all of these different expansions. Basically just keeping a really nice look on everything that's coming through. And until Dimaga took out that base to the left, there wasn't that much in the way of really threat to kauP. But kauP is compensated for losing that 5th in the lower left by, at the same time, taking one up to the top right.
Yeah, and again, that base becomes important, but he doesn't have any gases there. I think the biggest part about taking that base on the bottom left was the fact that there were gases there, right? So he was mining gas from there. And as a mech player, that's what you need. You don't need the mules, the 11 mules mining minerals for you. I mean, what's he going to do? Build 400 Hellions? You know what I mean? Like he needs the gas.
It's going to be very interesting trades as we start coming through towards the center, though, from Dimaga. He has got a near exclusive Hydra Viper composition at the moment. But look at this bank. It's still climbing. If he gets one good trade, and I mean like if he loses his entire army but knocks out 2/3 of kauP's, the Remax is terrifying. Dimaga's at 3-3, both ground and air. He can do whatever he wants off the back of this.
Yeah, he's got pretty much every upgrade except for +3 melee. I'm not sure what he has against his Zerglings, but they're the only thing that doesn't have full upgrades right now. He does have Adrenal Glands for them, though, so he's really gotten everything. This Banshee has 17 kills, just going to town and continuing to limit the drone count here, but at this point, I'm not sure if Dimaga needs any drones. This Roach finds the base up in the top right-hand corner. The army comes forward up there as well. Hellbats, though, do morph or transform in. They will get picked off, and this base has to pretty much evacuate here. I don't think kauP's army is nearly mobile enough to defend this, and he's back to being stuck on 4 bases.
Dimaga, if he takes this out, obviously really limits the income of kauP, but kauP is maxed out. He's got a decent-ish bank. And at this stage, if you're maxed out, having a decent-ish bank is more than enough with mech, because it's very unlikely with this mass Raven force that you can actually do much if you lose it.
Yeah, and here, well, here comes kauP. He sees an opportunity. He scans. He sees the Vipers and the Hydras over there. Sends the rest of his army over, and he's now, well, picking off creep. He's got 16 Ravens in this composition. All these point defense drones going down. These Hydras cannot even think about engaging in that choke right there.
The Great Aspire coming down from Dimaga as well. kauP slowly edging forward. This is ultra late game TVZ. Good couple of attacks come out onto those Vikings, but the Vipers, they take some losses. There's still 10 of them on the field, though, so it's not exactly like they're short in numbers.
And reinforcing with this is kauP with some Banshees and Siege tanks here. So if this is a big if, because it's hard to kill this many Ravens and Vikings with Hydras and Vipers, but if they do fall, as I'll hold that thought as the engagement comes in, all the tanks do, or a lot of them do, get yoinked here, but all these point defense drones, these Hydras can't do anything. We see Seeker missiles going down on a couple of these Hydras as well, and wow, a really good engagement here for kauP, but as we talked about, the Remax for Dimaga could be so strong in the form of 15 mutas coming out here, and that's just because that's all the larvae he had, it seems. He's got 6 more larvae to work with, but the big mutalist transition, how is kauP going to react?
I don't think he has to do too much, to be honest, because he's got 3 Thors, a good number of Ravens. They're obviously going to act as a nice deterrent, and it could come very much down to whether the Seeker missiles get a good shot off. This switch into mutas is hitting quite late, and oh my goodness, the firepower of these Banshees just shredding through those hatches. Dimaga, he's still got a huge bank, but he's kind of sitting there up against this late game Terran Death Ball, where you can have all the money in the world, but it can't buy you the win.
Yeah, these Hydras, by the way, shooting against these point defense drones is a little bit hilarious to watch. They do finally whittle away at all of the energy on them and do pick them off, but it's just so funny. I don't think I've ever seen Hydras try to deal with that many point defense drones, but all these mutas continue to come out. So many Banshees, as you mentioned, 30 mutas on the map, 13 more on the way, and well, another base falls here to these Banshees, but I mean, will he have enough? I have never seen 46 3-3 mutas fight against 12 Ravens, 3 Thors, and 9 Vikings, so I couldn't tell you honestly who's going to win this.
It's probably going to come down to the Seeker missiles. The spellcasts are going to be incredibly important, and one thing we don't see yet from Dimaga that I think would be a very good investment for him. Oh, the Mulus going in actually now. They're trying to get for the engage. A lot of Seeker missiles are trying to connect. None of them going to be able to detonate though. A good number of mutas died already, 8 of them falling. Nice trades, but as I was saying, a couple of infestors wouldn't be a terrible decision, because a good fungal growth could really spell disaster.
Yeah, and to be honest though, I just don't know if kauP is prepared for the amount of mutas. I mean, no amount of missile turrets are going to prepare you for 55 mutalisks, which is what we have on the map right now. He's making 3 Thors at a time, which is what he needs, but this engagement coming in here, the muta is sitting right on top of the air units. The point defense drones do not last very long. Blinding Cloud goes down on the siege tanks. A lot of these Vikings still remain. The Ravens, a lot of them have fallen, though. There's only 2 Ravens left here, and the mutas reign supreme.
That was a very, very nice trade for Dimaga, who's remaxing with more Mutalisks. He's going for it. These are 3/3 mutas, don't forget. And with the Ravens now taken out, Dimaga is looking to be in a very good spot, chasing down all of those tanks on the ground, but not that it really matters. This muta count is just ridiculous. Dimaga in a very strong footing.
Yeah, 48 mutas on the map, 8 more on the way, just finding that mid-50s number. And, I mean, okay, so maybe this is enough turrets here, but Dimaga, he can even trade mutas for missile turrets at this point. He still has 2,600 gas in the bank here, and, again, 3/3 mutas, well, turrets don't last too long, and killing off this base becomes, well, it's not quite winning the game here for him, but if kauP can't mine here, this is the most important base on the map right now.
It's the gassing gun. With that gun, the gassing gun for kauP is pretty much eliminated. He's only got these 2 gases up to the right, loses a couple more Thors. There's no gas in the bank either for kauP. He's being forced to make missile turrets. But Dimaga, he is in a nigh on unstoppable position now. He's got... Okay, he's pretty much expended his bank. But how do you deal with what's going to be 50, 62 mutas?
I mean, quite honestly, I don't think you can. If you're kauP, he's got some of these turrets we talked about, though, how these turrets just, it's not enough against this many mutas. The Banshee's trying to harass. Dimaga honestly would be wise to continue to pressure here. I don't think he needs to defend these bases. I don't think these Banshees are going to beat him in a base trade against his opponent here. I mean, what does kauP have to deal with this? And are these Banshees really going to kill everything before he can? I'm really not sure, but the mutas are going to come back and they are going to clean everything up, and then Dimaga can regroup. He's even building some ultras for good measure here, and then he can move forward.
So, in terms of production coming through from kauP at the moment, he's got a couple of Thors, a couple of Widow Mines, and a handful of Vikings. But look at the muta flock. It's like it's like the tide, basically, right now. Just a wave of mutas happily flapping across. I kind of am hoping that all of their flapping animations just sync up just for one frame. It would be beautiful, but this is scary times for kauP. Unfortunately, it's looking that Dimaga is going to be able to take this.
And he's resorted to long-distance mining with mules. I mean, that's what kauP's economy has come to here. It's really, I mean, it's not a spot any Terran player would ever sign up to be in. These Hellions try for some run-bys here. They all get found by the mutas and the lings. The Vikings are going to be caught out in the middle of the map here, and that's just going to be devastating. Oh, huge Thor shot! Spread the mutas! Spread the mutas! As he just barely gets them spread out in time. He's going to have to wait for them to heal up before he re-engages, but Ultras are going to run in, just kind of see what's going on here, and immediately, well, they'll fly on out, but a really close call there for those mutas.
How do you engage 62 Mutalisks? You hope they all clump up, and Thors are just left to shoot at them, because...
The answer, 1 Thor.
One Thor, if they're all clumped up. We'll call it 2 for good measure, because one might die pretty quick, but Dimaga, right, if he controls nicely, which he really has to do now, should be alright.
And all these mules will get, well, they'll actually expire before he can pick off most of them. The few that just landed will be picked off, and the Vipers are found. There is still an Ultra here with the army, but if he does spread his mutas and fly over these Thors, well, the Widow Mines get some pretty nice shots off, actually. And again, pushing Dimaga back, I still think he can engage. He lost quite a few mutas, actually. He's down to 49, which is not a number you're often down to in a muta count, but he has, as he was up at 62 earlier. And he's actually lost 58 mutas in this game. Quite a few, but I mean, if you look at the loss tab, it's just very funky for all players, as this game's gone on for, well, 46 minutes now.
Dimaga buying his time. He's pretty confident that his opponent doesn't have a mining base anymore. So kauP can't really produce anything, which just means every trade is very important for kauP. Dimaga needs to be very, very safe. Not just leave units sitting around doing nothing. Nice abduct. Every little pickoff like this. Grabbing, okay, 2 Thors. 3 remain, though. It's still not easy peasy. There are Widow Mines there. Going to get some big shots off. And still Dimaga can't move in. He lost a couple more mutas there. Bit of a pain.
Yeah, but those 2 Thors, I mean, well worth it there for the Ukrainian Zerg. I mean, he can't remake them. As you mentioned, he I mean, he's now long-distance mining from a base that has creep on it, so Dimaga just sends some lings over there pretty quickly and kills them off, but, I mean, it's rough. It's a really difficult spot for kauP to be in. The Widow Mines, though, are going to really keep him back here, it seems. You really can't go on top of them.
This is actually quite tense. I'm surprised Dimaga's not doing more to try and... actually, there's no point even trying to block out mining anymore because it just can't happen. kauP needs this base to the lower left. If that dies, it's zero income for kauP.
Yeah.
But
and this is a really nice decision here from Dimaga, going for the Broodlords to basically engage the Widow Mines. Once they've been engaged, he can fly in with the Mutas and pretty much finish the deal here. He doesn't need a lot. He's only building 2, but it should be enough here to help him start and initiate the engagement.
I love that Dimaga's not being overconfident because, as we saw, a couple of good Thor shots off onto a clumped up mutable, no matter what its size, could have spelled disaster. So Dimaga, instead, knowing he's in a good space, is just playing it very safely, very steadily. And there's not really much kauP can do about that approach.
No, there really isn't. He's got this orbital over here again, mining from it. This base, though, that he's worked so hard to get is already halfway mined out at this point, so it's not even the most valuable for him. It's just the only one without creep on it that he can realistically get to. These Broodlords are pushing this back immediately. The Mutas, well, should get set to fly in relatively soon here. And kauP, he's been behind for quite a while. He's actually only behind 20 army supply, but you've got to wonder how in the world he's going to get himself back into this game economically.
The mine's moving forward now. Scan's coming off, and there is an Ultra closing up the distance. There's the mine detonations. But Dimaga's still waiting.
Yeah, he doesn't know how many mines really are there, and he doesn't know there are only 4. 3 of them, well, actually all 4 of them are with this army, but he knows he can actually engage this pretty much just with Broodlords if he micros well. So he's just slowly waiting, accumulating those Broodlord numbers, engaging with them as well, and you know, he knows. He's playing a very patient game, now bringing in the Mutas at just the right time. He says enough is enough. The Widow Mine shots do go off. A lot of these Mutas in the red, but the Thors are gone. Dimaga knocking on the door, 175 supply, 260. GG is called, and Dimaga in 2 wonderfully entertaining games takes the series against kauP by a score of 2-0.